All right, John, Luke, let's get started. Okay, so Pōmarie, welcome to the April Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board meeting. We will start off with a timatanga karakia. So mā te whakapono, mā te tumanako, mā te titiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahitahi, mā te whakamomori, mā te aroha, ka taia e mātou. By believing and trusting, by having faith and hope, by looking and searching, by listening and hearing, by working and striving together, by sheer desire and determination, by all being done with compassion, we will succeed. Okay, so we do have some apologies. So I'll move that the apologies for Jill Taylor be received. Can I have someone to second that? John, all in favour? Against? Carried. Disclosure of members' interests. I imagine we've got some of those tonight. So can we just go through and confirm who's got some conflicts to?
You're not making any submissions, are you?
We've got the water and the fees.
So item 7 and 8.
Yep, I've just.
You've got a copy?
Yep.
So we can have questions asked, right?
Yep.
You cannot take part in the decision
Yep.
making process.
Have you got your mic on? Sorry, we've got a lot of people
Yep.
online.
Oh, you want me to do that?
Had a big day from the sounds of things, but
Yeah. Do you want me to repeat that?
so
No. In all honesty, I think that the message just is that we are allowed to talk and guide you with information,
yeah,
but we are not to take part in the submission itself.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm happy with that. And
So you still need to declare the interest in the items
in
that
the
you
early
need to
item, yeah.
declare. So that'll be items 7
Yep.
and 8. So we've got councillors Brown and Thomas.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so right, public forum. So item 3, we've got Mark Dawson here tonight. So welcome, Mark, and welcome, Peter. Thanks for coming along, and push the button and it's all yours.
Thank you.
Let us know when we need our
Yes, I'll just click this out. Now, I just meant to just briefly remind people there was a time when the Memorial Park, there was a consultation, and the only pre-planned one was this committee. Basically, I've put in black there, the need to keep its character. I meant to speak upon that. One measure we've gone to, which showed earlier, late last year, this park seat's now finished. We've made a replica of what I'm calling the Mark II version, where the Mark I was, of course, the pipe frame. So this is ready for installation, and a pet project might be here, where there's one of that kind over to the left, sort of at 90 degrees to it. It's a popular little spot where people are often using it. But apart from that, also late last year, Maria Blackwell spoke of the problem with, or her observation with the condition of park seats in other parks being quite miserable comparative to the state of the average bench seat in Memorial Park. And speaking to priority, this is Anzac Green. There's a lot of poor woodwork on the seats there. The wood's become grain exposed, grimy, and people do a lot of damage with paint to park. That's the eyesight, yes, the same seat. The other side of the building. So we're thinking this. Yeah, the bottom looks good. Maybe that's been exposed to the new term cyclic renewal. It's entirely appropriate for assets like that. Like you mightn't feel safe sitting on leaning back on that one. Just general Rewi Manipoto Reserve, some warp timbers. They're a little bit thin in their gauge for the length, etc. Now, for Memorial Park, compared to that, as I said, the average seat there was actually not that bad. And I'm thinking that cyclic renewal might not be best practice in that area. Now, here's an image of an area of Memorial Park. And in this image, you can see it in 3D. I'm keen to see whether that actually does function with the system. You can view it in this fashion. Yes, it does. Now, ironically, in late 18, there was an initiative, council initiative, to clear this area somewhat and make better use of the space, with many of the things you see in this image disappearing, including the rockery there. It's behind the fountain up by the road, the bench seats, which are originals, and I meant to prove that in the next shots. Fountain itself. Now, in the shadow there to the right centre, there's a triplet of original features, 3 park benches in a group, and there's in the periphery of the fountain, on the very left, you can just see there's a pipe seat there that's still there to this day. And from the Heritage NZ people taught me that there's a theory called, or consideration called the curtilage of a feature. As an example, if you've got an old cottage or an old church, one consideration is what is outside of it. Is the bird bath still there? The front gate is there? The lemon tree still there? The original footpath? And indeed, things like the picket fence or the seat. And that seat's there as part of the fountain's curtilage, as was its immediate footpath. It was cut through with the cycleway path. Now here's a view. This is very much a cropped image from one of the Swirling family collection. And central to the shot would have been in early 56. In the centre, you can just make out the pike frame seat for the fountain, and to the right, a triple-footed bench seat, and you can see it's juxtaposed with a different angle to it's not in parallel with the fountain seat, and to the very extreme right, you can see 2 pipe frame seats. And in this, another version, you can see that there's a triplet of pipe seats there, one above and behind the other side of the footpath. The triplet features in Memorial Park are quite abundant, and there's got to be 12 or 15 observations of them so far. So the increased knowledge I'm bringing forward for consideration about the seats is that they are part of the larger periphery of the heritage park, the memorial value and heritage value. And indeed, that one in particular is in the curtilage of the fountain. Now here's today's, just the other week, you can see that alignment of the triple-footed bench seat there by the rubbish tin and Peace Fountain's seat. They're in the original position. And another view showing that also. And here's that seat in question. It's got a tap just below the rear right foot. And it's interesting that it's painted, except the very end of it, as old as it is, 70 years, it's bare steel without rust. And I'm thinking, actually, in most of your homes, you'd have an outdoor garden tap that's not painted. It hasn't rusted. Warburton referred to the steel frames as being brazed. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Maybe it's an alloy. It doesn't want to rust very quickly. But as a matter of fact, these are the original seats. There's 4 of them that are in the original position. And so that does, in fact, give them heritage value that's not represented in McEwen's report. So I bring that as forward as increased knowledge, and what I often find myself quoting is from the Reserves Manual, section 1.2.3, to keep a management plan under continuous review so that the plan is adapted to circumstances in accordance with increased knowledge. So I'm thinking that cyclic renewal might be best applied to parks in general and not this particular facility, which was only really put in with parks and reserves as a result of it being a condition from the internal affairs that it be vested in a local body. So here's one at the far end of the lake. It was really quite rough. This is what it could look like if done up. It could look really neat and tidy with bolts like that. And here's one of those triplets. And in the background, you'll see a more modern Mark II seat up there. And as I showed earlier, we've produced a replica Mark II. The idea being we could produce a replica pipe frame seat and swap it out with that one at the top right to re-establish the triplet feature. The seat you see in the shot could then go within the line of oaks and the Yardley donated picnic playground and establish a triplet feature there. But in actual fact, that seat and this one have in fact, oh, it's running off from me, have in fact been repaired and restored. You will be able to view that in the park, as well as this one as of now. So we've only got 5 more to do. And I wanted to finish this off that I'm asking Lou. This is a note from the minutes of the Hui meeting prior to last. There was some homework to ask council about this issue of whether or not the park is in fact the memorial. And I'm confident that anybody reviewing the case, taking into account the opening day speeches alone, or the 8 years of correspondence with Internal Affairs striving to achieve a park for the District War Memorial. So it makes it pretty plain. But has this letter been sent? And to finish, it would be a win-win benefit where the various parks could receive the course of action of cyclic renewal instead of Memorial Park concerning seats, and the other gain being the non-erasure of memorial heritage features being these original seats as proven here. And that's it.
Thanks, Mark. Clearly, once again, lots of work put into that and lots of effort, so thank you. Has anyone got any further questions for Mark, if they need any clarity? Sorry.
Mark, have you got a costing for the Mark II?
Well, it was made of donated parts, but I have done the rounds. It would have cost possibly just over 400. And I'm thinking that the pipe frame would cost more like just over 300. And I also forgot to mention the offer to do these repairs with community board funds was refused, but I mean to make a new offer that in the spirit of the Memorial Committee of the day in the 50s and all those people who donated, we've now got independent donors who will foot that cost. So these pipe frame seats can be retained at absolutely no cost.
And just to clarify, how many do you want to maintain? How many do you want to swap out or maintain?
7.
7. Yeah.
7 that are present. So we've done 2.
Thank you.
It doesn't take long, actually. Oh, please go and see them.
Anyone else got anything further to say about this? Button.
All I'd like to say, the RSA actually passed a motion and a letter was sent to the council. I was involved in that. We sent a letter. We view that Memorial Park is for all veterans. And and the fact that we've already got Vietnam, we've already got Borneo, got Malaya, they're all included in that at the moment. We just haven't got some of the more modern deployments.
Anything further? I've just got one comment. once again, thank you, Mark. As I have pointed out, despite all this amazing work and the supporting evidence, it has been decided that those seats are part of a renewal process that will be undertaken in the 25, 26 year? If I got that right? And that there are going to be, there's $50,000, I believe, is the budget to be spent to replace all of the seats in the park. So you do need to be aware that whatever you do, that I'm sorry, there's nothing more we can do as a community board. That decision has been made and it's out of our hands. But I just want to acknowledge all the hard work that you guys have put in, all the back end research and information, and the effort that you've gone to, and to acknowledge all of those people that were prepared to make those contributions and do this for nothing, to retain those seats. But as I say, that's the lay of the land, and I just want to make sure that that's very clear. So thank you, really appreciate your time, and Peter, thanks also for coming along to support Mark. Okay, so on to item 4, we've got confirmation of the previous minutes. That's on pages 9 to 14. So can we, I'm happy to move that the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board confirms the open minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of March 2025 as circulated with the agenda as a true and correct record of proceedings. Can I have someone second that? John, those in favour?
Yeah.
Against? Carried. Then we move on to item 5, which is a update from Melissa on the 2025-34 long-term plan progress. It's a long-term plan progress report. So let's move that as well, that the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board receives a report of Melissa Russo, Manager Strategy, titled 2025-34 Long-Term Plan Progress Report. So can I have someone second that? Kane, all in favour?
Yeah.
Against? Carried. So we've got Kirsty here to speak to that report. We will take it as read, but has anybody got any specific questions? And then we'll hand over to Kirsty in case she's got some further updates.
Okay. Melissa's going to be speaking to this report. I'm just here.
Oh, she is there. Sorry, Melissa,
Yeah.
I didn't see you.
Thank you.
Blind. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Welcome.
So good evening. Thank you. So yes, just providing an update on the long-term plan. So we are committed to delivering a comprehensive long-term plan. So we are continuing to work with our team of independent auditors. I am pleased to report that it's looking like we're progressing towards the final stages of that, and we're hoping that it'll be wrapped up within coming weeks. I guess for those who aren't familiar, the audit is a really important part of the process, and it does ensure that we're following a thorough, transparent and robust process as we work through in developing this plan. It's now looking like consultation will be commencing in May. We don't have dates yet, but as soon as we have those locked in, we'll be sure to reach out and make you aware of those. We do have an extensive consultation approach planned over that period. And again, as soon as we've got details of any events, we'll bring those to your attention and invite you to make a submission. Happy to take questions.
Thanks, Melissa. So has anyone got any questions at this stage? No? Okay, that looks like you've had 2 meetings in a row where we've let you be.
Just
Well,
one
Kane,
quick
hang on,
one.
Kane does, sorry.
Just regarding the audit, is there anything come out of there that's of concern to make major adjustments, maybe?
So,
Well,
Audit and Risk today had a meeting. Audit and Risk today had a meeting, and that's what we discussed at the time, that we are agreeing with one particular issue, that was actually depreciation. We're changing that to their mode. However, we still take the position that waters should be into the LTP for the 9 years on the grounds that we felt very strongly that we have not yet signed any agreements with anything with Waikato Waters done well. And it would be inconceivable, I felt, for us to go out and just assume that we're going to get everything tied together well in that. The second point was that we looked at the next point, which was DCs, and it was about growth in our area. We believe that we're a tier 1 council. So there will be, I think, a signed audit, but it would have a modifications on or a qualification on it, and to be modified to accept that we have those disparities of feeling. But that's only come from audit and risk. It's still to be voted on, okay, at council. So
Just a clarifying question, probably for Melissa again, I think.
does that help?
It does, no, it does. So the question around the depreciation, I guess, is that a material impact to is that going to be impacting rates?
It will, and it does
Significantly.
impact rates, but it won't impact rates, we believe, until the third or fourth and fifth year,
Yeah.
which we were at 2% rates increase, and it'll raise those a little bit. Okay, the point being is that they've adopted a new philosophy, incorporating the fact that we have inflation, so inflation adjusted depreciation.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lou. Have you got anything to add to that, Melissa?
Yeah, I would like to. Thank you. So, Councillor Lou has identified or explained the issues that we are working through. It's not uncommon for audit to raise issues through this process. It's exactly what it's designed for. I guess I would just like to reiterate that we are operating in a particularly complex environment. We obviously delayed the development of the long-term plan, deferred that or replaced that, with the enhanced annual plan. One of those complicating factors is around the waters legislation. So the waters legislation and the Local Government Act legislation with respect to the long-term plan, they don't nicely align. It has caused us some issues. We're obviously also a Tier 1 growth council that brings another set of issues, but that's exactly what we've been working through with our team of auditors on, and we're pretty comfortable that we're nearing the end of that process. I guess the other point that I would like to make is it's uncommon, or it's, long-term plans have to go through an audit process. Audit provides what's called a qualification where they're raising issues. I think statistically about 70% of councils receive qualified audits. So yeah, just wanting to to provide a bit of context around the situation that we're operating in.
Thank you. That's brilliant.
Thanks, Melissa. And that's a really good point to make, I think, around that it's normal to receive, like a number of issues will be raised in those audits, and I mean, it's a good thing. So look, thank you for that. Are there any further questions for Melissa? No? Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, and for the extra information there, that's really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will now move to item 6, which is the 6-monthly Community Board reporting, business support and district growth regulatory on pages 16 and 17. So we will, if I can have someone to move that the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board receives report of Joe Greed, Governance Manager, titled 6-monthly Community Board reporting, district growth and regulatory services and business support. Bruce and Lou to second. All in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Okay, so we've got David here. Yep. Hi, David.
Yeah, good
We'll take your report, we'll take Joe's report as read, but if you've got anything that you would like to highlight or bring to our attention, that would be awesome. And then if we've got any questions, we'll fire those at you. So thank you.
Yeah, good evening, good to see you. It's just an update on 135 Roach Street. The new roof construction is well advanced. Horizontal plywood diaphragm is in place, and that is part of the seismic work. New trusses have been installed on the roof with the roofing iron delivered and installation underway, and flashings underway. Continuation of the new windows is in play, and it is on track for completion on the 30th of May. So I'll take any questions.
Brilliant.
Cool, thanks, David. Anyone, Lou, sorry, not Lou, Kane, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, it was 135, not 135, is it?
Till Museum, sorry.
Yeah, it's one. Yeah, it's got 35 here. Just
Hang on,
clarifying.
where are we looking? Oh, 35 Rose Street. Oh, okay, right, yep. Okay, is there anyone else got any other questions? Kirsty's happy to answer any in regard to the waste to energy plant, if anyone had anything in regard to that, or if there's any other
Yeah, I
matters
guess
for David.
got one quick question for David. So are we on track in terms of time wise? We're finishing on track. Are we cost wise coming in budget and under budget? Over promised, under promised?
Yep, yes, through the chair. Yep, and on budget.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Oh, well, is there anything further for around property, Sally?
Just with regards to the submission for the waste to energy plant or the incinerator, I take it that it's a opposing submission as per the website, and just a thumbs up from the community regarding the evidence and the social impact statement.
Cool, thank you. All right, I think that sounds like we've pretty much got that covered. Doesn't look to be any further questions. So thank you, David. Thank you, Kirsty. We will now move on to item 7, which is local waters done well. This is at pages 18 to 67. We need to decide whether we want to make a submission to this. So there's a little bit of discussion to be had. Yeah, I'll cut to Dawn first, but I'm just saying that we're going to need to have a bit of discussion, and I believe Dawn's sitting there. Hi, Dawn, welcome, and Dawn will run through with us all we need to know to help us make a good decision. So thanks, Dawn.
Hi everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to present this item. We've provided you with a copy of a draft consultation document and a copy of the decision report that we presented to council on this matter to kind of give you some background. But maybe if I can give a bit of a potted summary, because I acknowledge it's quite a complex topic and a piece of work that I guess has been sitting with council for a period of time. You'll recall in terms of the previous government's water reforms, where there was the creation of central sort of water services delivery entities, and that with the new government they brought in a policy called local water done well. So very much about the local, creating allowing the local areas to create local solutions that address the challenges that councils are facing in delivery of water services. Legislation has since followed that's provided a very strong guidance for us in terms of how we move forward and do the analysis of determining the appropriate options, and council has worked through it and done viability and sustainability analysis to ensure that we look at the appropriate options to meet our future community needs. In looking at that analysis, there were two options that emerged for the analysis. One was working with our more northern council partners, Hamilton City and Waikato District, looking at forming a sub-regional CCO with those councils, or working with Waikato Water Done Well, a grouping of what's ended up being 7 councils in terms of forming a CCO. So those options were considered, and in late February, Council determined that their preferred model is forming or being a partner in a CCO with 6 other councils to form what's known as Waikato Water Done Well. So as I say, that is the preferred option. It was preferred on a number of for a number of reasons, including the role that Waipa plays in the formation of the CCO, the opportunity it provides in terms of partnering with other rural and provincial councils in the formation of the water services delivery organisation, and provides a pathways to what's seen as a longer term most optimal solution is actually having a CCO that deliver water services across the whole of the Waikato region, and that is seen as the preferred long-term model, and that participating in Waikato Water Done Well provides the best opportunity for that outcome in that short to medium term, sort of hopefully in that 5 to 10 year period. And also the fact that Waikato Water Done Well are committed to innovative approaches around catchment management and catchment consenting, particularly for wastewater discharges. So they were the background to it. The CCO is proposed to be established as a council-controlled organisation with a shareholders forum at which each of the participating councils will have an equal opportunity and an equal voice at that table. And it will be a 2 waters asset owning CCO for water and wastewater, with Waipa's looking for stormwater management to be provided as a contracted service from the CCO, because we determined there are some quite important synergies for around asset management in particular, but that integration, the whole of the management of water, such that an integrated management approach across all 3 waters, we believe delivers a better outcome for our communities. So as I say, we've provided a bit of information. The consultation document, unfortunately, I was really hoping to present to you with an outline of when we might be heading out to consultation with our community on this matter, but given what Melissa has already explained to you in terms of some of the complexity of consultation of this matter being under what's known as the Water Services Preliminary Arrangements Act legislation versus the Local Government Act, they need to be complementary and sort of well choreographed processes with one another to ensure that we are able to tell a coherent story to our community of what waters would look like if it stayed within council, which will be seen within the LTP document, versus this proposal, which talks about what we believe is a better outcome, a more affordable outcome, a more resilient outcome, a more sustainable outcome for our communities into the future. So, but yeah, welcome any questions from members of the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. That was really good. That brought back all the things that I'd remembered from the workshop, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that now. So thank you. That was really good. Have we got any questions for Dawn? Because she is an expert on this. She spent hours and hours. So if anyone's got anything, John, all yours.
What's the makeup of your board members
So
going forward?
Through you, Madam Chair. So the board are appointed by the shareholders forum. The legislation requires them to be independent. So no council staff member or elected member is able to sit on the board. It has to be entirely independent of council. So that will be something that, as the shareholders agreement is developed across the partner councils, as each council works through a consultation process and adopts the Waikato Water Done Well CCO as their preferred model, that shareholders agreement then allows the recruitment process for the board to be undertaken.
So how many on the board?
The the moment, that's not prescribed in legislation, so it's subject to agreement through the shareholders' agreement, but we're anticipating probably between 3 and 5 people to sit on the board. On the
Okay.
shareholders' forum, there will be one person from each council nominated to be sitting on the shareholders' forum, and they're the ones who develop up the statement of expectations that inform the CCOs as to what council's expectations are, or council owning the council owners are requiring, and initially it's anticipated that the mayor of each council will sit on the shareholders' forum.
Okay, and so the board, there's 3 to 5 people, they're independent. You've got 7 mayors sitting on the shareholder forum. Who else is on the shareholder forum?
That's it. They are just representing the shareholding councils.
Okay, I thought I read in there that there was there a iwi representation, is that correct?
Sorry.
That's subject to further conversation. This piece of work was born out of a conversation that started at the Mayor and iwi Chairs Forum, and so that collaborative group are further in conversation around developing up the shareholders agreement. So ultimately it will be within there that how that group is made up, if there is iwi representation, or how that relationship to iwi and mana whenua is managed. Certainly it's a recognition that whether it's council or a CCO, we have obligations under treaty settlements through joint management agreements that will have to work through some level of partnership with those groups. So yeah, that's yet to be confirmed.
Okay. I'll just go one more and then I'll let someone else have a go, and I've got some more. What was I going to say? So around, so for example, we used to have Martin Mould come and speak to us quite regularly. That seemed to fall off the wagon with our different approach, etc. How are we going to assure that the information can get down to the lower levels and we can understand what's happening with the and have some form of control and sort of watchdog over what's going on? How does that work?
Through you, Madam Chair, there are a number of, I guess, additional controls that are being put in place to protect consumers. So the fact that it's moving into a CCO means it is arm's length from council. So whilst council will develop up a statement of expectations around what that CCO is required to deliver, and then receive an annual report from the CCO, it is very much arm's length. So consumer protection will be provided through quite a different framework through the Commerce Commission. So much as Power and other utility organisations have a very strong regulatory framework through the Commerce Commission, so will our waters utility. So they will be the ones who are really performing that task that council has historically undertaken in terms of overseeing that on behalf of our communities.
Anyone else got some questions, or Kane's got more? If I can, no, but if someone else has got a question, you're allowed a turn.
On page 31 on the consultation document, it says efficiency gains will offset establishment costs within the first 8 years. I was on the understanding that you're just talking a 9-year period and then it goes on. So it's going to take 8 years to offset. It's obviously correct.
It is in terms of it, although in terms of the modelling, how the revenue is utilised to benefit consumers means that consumers gain a benefit prior to that. But if you look at the financials, then yes, it does take that long for that investment in establishing the CCO to become neutral, but the benefits thereafter grow quite significantly in terms of another matter that I didn't raise earlier that Waikato Water done well have developed as part of their proposal for the CCO is called investment to pursue efficiencies. So basically invest to save, and that's something that help further benefits consumers over time in terms of that active pursuit of at least 1% efficiency gains through the CCO arrangements.
Quite good. Anyone else got some? John, did you have anything else? No. No.
So have we got a situation where the assets can be privatised or sold at all?
Through you, Madam Chair, absolutely not. The legislation prohibits it. It prohibits the CCO from conducting any other business than delivering water services, and ensures that there is absolutely no privatisation of the assets or the activities.
Okay. And I see there's a new regulatory regime that they're looking at incorporating or creating. Will that take into account international best practice in terms of standard setting? For example, if there is found to be a new research on chlorine causing an issue, will international best practice be used?
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess that's probably something that I would leave up to a future regulator in terms of whether that comes under the oversight of the Water Services Authority, which we currently know as Tūmata Arawai, or whether it's the Commerce Commission. But yeah, I couldn't comment on that. Sorry.
Dawn, sorry, I'm probably asking a dingy question, but as far as the legislation goes at this point around the waters, they haven't, is there legislation that throws back to, like the health director, for example, to make decisions about what happens, or is it going to be more left up to the entity to make those decisions? Has there been anything in that space?
At the moment, in terms of the Director General of Health, in terms of making that determination particularly, and there is nothing in the legislation that has changed that position. Okay. Whether it's that directive being issued to council or whether it's being directed to a CCO, it's still their determination, I believe. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? Sally, you got another one?
The opening paragraph here reads as if the consultation is only happening because the law mandates it. I just find that a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, really. I think it would have been nicer to have seen the community brought along and on the whole project. I don't think that at the moment that the public probably feels very involved, or that they've been informed enough about the options. And when you look at the consultation document, you've sold the bias of what's been proposed or the focus on where you want to head really, really well, and yet the options at the end have got sort of one little paragraph about them, which I think hasn't or doesn't certainly inform to the best for the people to feel like they have had, that they feel empowered, or that their critical thinking actually comes into recognition, I suppose. So I just think it's a bit of a sad indictment on things with regards to when we're wanting localism, when we're wanting community involvement, and we're wanting win-win, that it just looks like we're box ticking a little bit here. That's what I feel.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I may, I hear you on this one. In terms of the additional material, we have tried. We've put out media releases. We've created a website through Waikato Water Done Well. Equally, there is a site that's made available. We've tried to introduce, I guess, conversations with our community around the management of water, so that people were informed as we moved into this phase, that they had an element of understanding around what delivering water services look like. So we've tried pretty hard in terms of raising that awareness ahead of this. But in terms of the consultation document, we are very much required under the legislation to consult on the status quo, enhanced status quo of a high regulated current service delivery model versus what we have determined as the preferred model. So in terms of the fact that we've included information on other options, it's really starting to step even a little bit there outside of what is prescribed in legislation. But we felt it was important that the public had a little bit of an insight into that we had looked at those other ones. So I acknowledge in terms of that sentiment, but this is quite I guess a highlighting of that difference between the Preliminary Arrangements Act, under which this consultation will be undertaken, versus the LTP, which is the Local Government Act, which is much more around those elements that you've described. Absolutely.
Thanks, Dawn. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I just want to add thanks, Dawn. And I think there are times where we have elected councillors, and we do need to rely on, because of the technical nature and the massive amount of information that is to be filtered, excuse the pun, filtered through, that we need to rely on our elected members to whittle this down a bit before we do start to try and give this out to the community. Because I think potentially like I have been personally following this right from the start, and there's been times where I've looked at things and gone, holy moly, they've been literally juggling balls around this. So I think that we're probably actually getting a leg up, to be honest, to have had this information just whittled down a bit, because otherwise there would have been a heck of a lot. And the fact that they've made some preliminary decisions, and just reinforcing what Dawn said, it was quite prescribed right from the get-go. So there was conditions made from central government that we were restricted by. I've got that right, eh? So yeah, I think that's just worth noting as well. But there's been an awful lot of work done in the background trying to get this into the best space possible that's going to work for everybody.
Dawn, can you explain to me, so we've got reasonably good or pretty good water infrastructure in the Waipa. I know for a fact that other parts of the 6 council areas don't. So I'm just trying to reconcile how we are not going to be subsidising these other councils to get up, to improve their water infrastructure when we've actually invested that ourselves. And and when you discuss that, I'm wondering how much the additional debt servicing ability up to 500% is actually helping adjust that, if you know what I mean. If like that is the actual main driver, in which case, why couldn't we have just gone with the increased debt level with the CCO for ourselves to achieve that?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. If I can maybe answer it in a couple of goes. Number one, when you speak to price harmonisation, Waikato Water Done Well is not proposing to harmonise water charges across consumers wider than than council units. So there is no proposal at this stage in terms of harmonisation. So there will still be a ring fencing of cost to those consumers who are funding the work. With respect to these things, when we look back over LTPs of the participating councils, each council has done a lot of work in identifying what their infrastructure gaps are. We heard a lot about that over the preceding sort of 3 to 4 years, and a lot of investment, more investment is going into waters across all of the councils. For us, a lot of our investment is into growth, and so that debt, whilst funded from DCs, is debt that is impeding councils' ability to invest elsewhere. When that debt goes into the CCO, it frees up debt headroom, but in in terms of when we did the LTP modelling, that debt exceeded the maximum debt to revenue ratio that council could have under the LGFA. So keeping it in-house was not an option. We had to look at a CCO option to access that additional debt headroom. So that was quite a catalyst for us to look at, therefore, what is the best option. And as I say, all councils have taken this opportunity to say, what is the right level of investment? We are bringing a lot of debt into the CCO, or a significant amount of debt into the CCO. Other councils are bringing in a low level of debt, but a need for investment. Waikato Water will bring the benefits to all councils over time as that cyclic nature of investment rolls out. So whilst we don't need to invest today, but we all know that even by 2030 we're having to invest another significant sum into Te Awamutu wastewater treatment plant, for instance, and those requirements keep rolling on. So as I say, every council has taken the opportunity. They've recognised their gaps, they've put that forward in their LTPs or into their annual plans, so that Waikato Water Done Well has been modelled on the best information we have, and it's either to manage the debt issues that we face, or to manage the investment requirement that other councils are facing in terms of addressing some of their gaps.
All right, so just so I'm clear, so we couldn't, because my understanding is we could set up our own CCO and just go in there ourselves, and we could not get access to the 500%. Is that correct?
We could, but you wouldn't get the efficiency gains that we believe will be appropriate, because those establishment costs that are being spread across the 7 councils, setting up your own CCO arrangement would bring not dissimilar establishment costs, but you haven't got that ability to pursue efficiencies or to spread those costs over a wider number of consumers.
Yeah, so around the efficiency costs in other organisations that I've worked in, we've looked at procurement models, like shared procurement models. You know what I mean? So I don't know whether you're doing that already or what, but wouldn't there be an opportunity to keep the CCO, like have our own CCO? Yes, I get there's costs, but I'm thinking about control. So we're losing control here, and having the shared services, the shared procurement across the 7 or across a wider group even, and then you can access those efficiency savings. I understand there would be savings in terms of staff, technical expertise and that across the 7. I get that. So there's definitely a benefit there. But in terms of procurement, you could achieve that without going into any CCO with others. So I guess I'm just challenging that efficiency. I think we can get that another way, is all I'm saying.
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess we have tried that in the past. A couple of years ago, we did a collaborative water main renewals contract with a neighbouring council. It didn't bring cost efficiencies, but it provided some great training opportunities. It enabled probably more benefits for our neighbour in terms of who did not have the contract management resource available to be able to work through some of those processes. So it's we believe that in a joint CCO, not only those procurement gains of looking at a wider capital works program, looking at how it's delivered, how we package things, that they are going to be pursuing that actively because they will have a 1% per annum efficiency target to meet. But the other one in terms of the innovative catchment approach around consenting, I think that's going to bring some real gains in terms of what we invest in being much more appropriate, maybe in terms of getting that balance between outcome and investment that brings some real benefits to consumers as well. And that's incredibly difficult to do on small scale.
Final question from me. Thanks for your patience. So I'm just thinking of what council will look like. Will we have a council with the entire water team removed? Therefore, they won't be in the Waipa buildings at all. So there'll be some savings there. Is that the situation?
With respect to location of the CCO, that's yet to be established. There will also be an element of transition over a number of years. It's already been recognised that billing through to customers in terms of meter reading and then billing on through to customers is that it's likely that council will continue to do that for a period for maybe 1 to 2 years. So there will be elements of our business, maybe our development engineers who will still reside within council buildings. So we've yet to work through in terms of what that transition period looks like. But you're right, as an organisation, we now have to turn our minds to exactly that. So that's something that certainly within council is as I say, as a part of this consideration.
Awesome. Well, they gave you a good workout, Dawn. Sorry. But thank you very much for your, for taking the time with us tonight and explaining everything so thoroughly. Even I've understood most of it, so that's saying something. Really appreciate that. No further questions, just to double, triple check. Okay. So thank you, Dawn. Right, what we now need to decide is, let me see, we've got to receive the report, but we also need to make a decision in regard to whether we're going to take part in making a submission, and then we need to decide who we want to delegate that authority to make that submission. So have I got any takers that want to look after the submission? Otherwise, if you don't, I'm happy to do it. No one's jumping at off the bridge here, so it looks like it's me. I don't think it should be too complex. So, okay. So do we want to make a submission as no councillors? John?
We probably should do, but what the council and the staff are doing, I think they've done a bloody marvellous job getting where we are. And we sort of have to follow that because of government things. So I suppose I'm sitting on the fence, but I think it's an opportunity to say, yes, we agree with what the staff and council are doing.
Thank you. Sally?
I sort of feel that I neither agree or disagree. I just think it's sort of the decision's been made, and yes, it's our position to be an advocate, but it seems.
I mean, if that's how the council as a team, the community board as a team feels that, in the discussion to what we put in our submission, if everybody else feels the same way, we certainly are allowed to comment and say that if that's the feeling of the group. So, yep, Kane.
So I'd like to do a submission. I'd like to point out a few things. positive, negative that I can see. So I sort of am going for neither agree or disagree is my view, but just give those points as to how I feel about the concerns that I've got and the positives around it. Yeah.
Yep, okay, so we need to be able to do a submission to do that. So, can I borrow this? Thanks. First up, that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board, well,
So we just need to decide whether you're doing a submission of one of these
agreeing,
things.
strongly disagree, neither
Yeah,
agreeing or
because this is
disagreeing.
in the submission form, so if you look in the agenda, at the submission form.
Okay, so, yeah, that's a good point. Where are we sitting? We're not strongly disagreeing, are we? So I don't think from what you three have just said, and I certainly don't strongly disagree. Do we want to sit in the neither agreeing or disagreeing, agreeing or strongly agreeing? Where would you prefer to sit? Oh, yeah.
Either agree or disagree.
That probably
And
works for you too, eh?
Yep.
Yep.
And giving comments.
John?
I for agree.
Okay, so now what do I do?
So you could do neither agree or disagree, and then you could put all your points down, like your main points.
Because otherwise we're going to end up with,
So it's over here.
it is over to me. That's what I'm just humming and hawing about. Whether I'm going to go with neither agree or disagree, or whether I agree.
And then you can do feedback points.
I'm going to go with, I'm going to support neither agree or disagree. And just to let you know, this won't be recorded because it's not the way it works, but just so that you guys know, is so that we can outline the points that we want to raise. And I think that will be the best fit in this situation. So we are going to go in the middle, nothing like sitting in the middle. Okay. Is that all right?
So Joe's going to put it on the screen so everyone
Okay.
can see.
And then we just make sure that we're okay with this.
Do we need to cover some of the items, or do we have we had the discussion already to have raised those?
Joe, do we need to be more specific?
Oh, well, the submission form in respect of this consultation is quite simple, and then I think you can take that kind of basis of your submission, and then you also delegate up there. We've got delegate to Chairperson Hope to prepare and finalise that in conjunction with the other board members. And
Yeah, so we don't have to be too specific about
no,
those
because
points this time for that.
You've answered the specific question in recommendation B, and then you will go on to incorporate the rest of your things you've talked about and consultation when you're circulating and finalising that.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Joe. Right, so we want to say that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A receives the report of Sharon Patterson, Manager Delivery Performance, titled Local Water Done Well Consultation. Can I do all of these together in one hit?
Yeah.
Yep. B, makes a submission to the Local Water Done Well consultation within the consultation period, neither agreeing or disagreeing with the council's preferred option. And C, delegates authority to Chairperson Holt to prepare and finalise the Community Board's submission to Local Water Done Well in consultation with the Community Board members, and to make that submission once the consultation period opens. We've been talking lots about constitution. So can I have someone to move that? John, second. Kane, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we can have some further discussion around those points and get those down. Stuff. So, right, we will move on to item 8, which is the 2025 to 2027 fees and charges schedule consultation. We also need to have a look at this in regard to making a submission or not. This is on pages 68 to 161. We've got Melissa back. We have got Melissa back. So we're going to take that information as read. But are there any questions in relation to that before we start making any decisions? Hold on, actually, I'll just wait. I'm going to jump to Melissa. Melissa, have you got anything that you'd like to highlight or add before we bomb you with questions, in case you might answer some first?
I will just provide a bit of a summary. So the purpose of this report is to invite the community board to make a submission on the draft fees and charges. This was approved for consultation at today's council meeting. Consultation doesn't officially open until tomorrow, but we'll let you have your submission today. And it is open until the 18th of May. So I guess just to help your understanding and avoid any confusion, fees and charges are separate to rates. So fees and charges are used where the user of a particular service can be directly identified as the beneficiary of that service. So as an example, or a few examples, dog registration fees, the issuing of a library book, or where an individual or group hires a community facility. So these are all examples of where we would be able to directly identify the beneficiary. So in those instances, we use a fee and a charge to cover the costs of those facilities as opposed to rates. The fees and charges that we're proposing, they've been developed on the basis of the revenue and financing policy, which has been reviewed as part of the long-term plan process. So the policy sets out all of the different activities of council, and each activity, or the majority of the activities, have what we call a private good portion and a public good portion. So the public good portion of that activity is funded via rates, and the private good is charged through fees and charges. So I did just want to provide that context before you have your discussion, but I'm obviously happy to take questions as well.
Thanks, Melissa. I appreciate that. Right, so have we got any questions for Melissa?
No.
Yep.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Kirsty. Through you, Madam Chair. A lot of it says that it is, or some of it says about staff time. Just wondering if through efficacy and process, whether it has been looked at staff time reduction rather than increase of fees, whether that reverse model has been assessed and looked at out of interest.
Yeah, good question. So when we went through this process to assess the full cost of the activity and attributing that to a fee, we absolutely looked at efficiencies and how we work. So that was part of the process that the managers went through in proposing these fees.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so obviously you can't do a collection of fees being requested because they come in spontaneously, don't they? That's how it sort of works. You know, you can't have dog fees or annual licensing at a certain time and then you've got a collective period and then boom, it's done. Doesn't work like that. I don't know. I don't have a dog, so like, could it be in a time frame and that it suits the council staff at that particular point of time because you've got less on, Dream?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you please just explain that a bit more?
So with the efficacy of staff, for dog licensing, is the dog licensing done in a certain period of the year or is it throughout the year? Because if it was set in, say, February or, say, March, and you were just concentrating, you had a staff member just concentrating on on registration at that particular time, would that be a really efficient model? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
taking your example, dog registration fees, the registration fees actually fund what we call the private good portion of the whole animal control activity. So we've got animal control officers who work out in our community doing patrols, picking up stray dogs, whatever they do. That is what dog registration fees cover the cost of. It's not the staff time in the administrative processing of those fees. It's not what that is.
Yeah, that does make sense. I understand that, but for the fee itself, I don't know. No,
With the dog registrations, yes, they are at a set time of the year. So we pay it as a dog owner. The dog registration fee comes out. So they are doing those as a bulk lot. If you happen to get a puppy and you want to come in, they will take additional ones as dogs come on tap. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Kane, have you got a question?
Yep, so I'm pretty happy with inflation adjusted changes, except those ones you've increased for different variety of different reasons. I just wanted to double check because as I was flicking through quickly, just checking a couple of these, what was the actual inflation rate that was applied?
Don't have that at hand, sorry, but I can follow up.
Okay, because I was finding a few different calculations were giving me different numbers. So I was just like, okay, I'm not sure. I'd expect to see the same percentage if it wasn't one of these items that were going to be calculated differently, or there's going to be a different charge, an adjustment for an additional time cost or something like that. So I just want to make sure that we've double checked that the items that are just getting the inflation adjusted amount are getting the inflation adjusted amount increase, that's all.
I can assure you the numbers have been crunched multiple times by a number of different people, but yes, yeah, appreciate the question.
Okay, I might get an example and flick it through just so I can.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Thank you, Kane.
Has anyone else got any questions? Have the councillors got anything that they can add to help us with what we're doing in regard to any conversations that you guys have had that we should be aware of?
Melissa, I've got one. The fees and charges are going to be reviewed alongside our long-term plan, but the fees and charges are reviewed regularly. Are they coincided with all long-term plans, or is it in between? You review them in between as well, because it's for budgeting purposes, so it makes sense every long-term plan to work these in as well.
So we are taking a little bit of a different approach from here on in. So fees and charges have historically been reviewed every year. It obviously takes quite a bit of work to go through this process every year. We would normally consult on our fees and charges alongside annual plans. We don't always consult on annual plans anymore. So what we're looking to do to try and get both efficiency for staff and I guess the way we work, but also a lot more certainty for the community or for the people who are looking at these fees and charges, is set them alongside each long-term plan. So these fees and charges are proposed over 2 years, and that's why when you look at the schedule, there'll be the current column and then the fees for the next financial year and then the following financial year. But we're looking to review them alongside every long-term plan going forward. So in the future, they will be set for 3 years and kind of incrementally sort of inflation adjusted over those 3 years.
Yeah, that makes me happy because I think that makes a lot of sense.
Cool, thanks, Bruce. That's a good question and helps with a bit of clarity for us too. So no other questions. I've just wanted a couple of things I wanted to just in my own head, the mobile trading permits, that will cover the people like the coffee carts. But I presume it wouldn't include anyone that just needs a permit to be able to do a fundraiser in town. It's just those actual trading business, mobile businesses.
I mean, to be 100% sure, I would have to check with the team on that one, but that would be my presumption as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
Thanks.
fundraising is not a trade. They're not.
No, I
not a
was
trading activity.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check, like, because they are selling things, whether it's loosely included as trading. And then I'm sort of going, I know when I've helped someone get a permit, we haven't had to pay anything. It's just a free thing that we can normally get. But I just sort of thought, I'll just double check that because it made me ask. And I just also thought that it is a really big jump. That's a lot of cups of coffee for the coffee cart people to have to be fronting up. But I suppose that means our coffee might, on top of the fact that coffee's going up, and we might just have to sacrifice the odd cup of coffee. Yeah. So, okay. If there's no further questions, thank you, Melissa and Kirsty. We now need to Sorry, thank you. Just want to check, is there anything specific that comes out of the fees and charges that we want to comment on in a submission?
I agree with it, it's fine. I suppose clarifying points that I think we can do on the submission, but we can get them sorted out later. Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy with that.
Oh, yeah, don't forget your mics, guys. So, right, next question is, do we want to do a submission to support the fees and charges that they're going up?
Yeah.
Yep, cool. So, right, we're going to make a submission. Joe's just popping it up, but basically we'll receive the report. I'll just run through it while Joe's doing that. We're going to make a submission to the draft schedule of fees and charges, agreeing with them. We haven't got anything additional as far as points to make, other than maybe our supporting comment. And then we got any takers to who wants to do the submission? No. Looks like that's me again.
I can do it.
Thanks. No, Kane, I've got a taker. Yes. Kane's going to do that one. Right, Joe, change that quick. Oh, look, she's already got it up there. She knew. She was giving you the eye. All right. Okay, item 8. Let's get serious and get this cracking along, because we're smoking along here, considering we have covered a lot tonight. So that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Melissa Russo, Manager, Strategy, titled Consultation on Draft Schedule of Fees and Charges 2025 to 27. B, we're going to make a submission on the draft schedule of fees and charges 2025-27 consultation, agreeing with the draft fees and charges. And C, we're going to delegate the authority to Board Member Titchener to prepare and finalise the Community Board submission to fees and charges 2025-27 in consultation with the Community Board members, and to make that submission once the consultation period opens. I will move that one. Can I have a seconder? John, all in favour? Against? Carried. Done and dusted. Thank you. Right. Item number 9. The Treasury Report, pages 162 to 164. Let's take this as read. So can I please have someone to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Nada Milne, Financial Accountant, titled Treasury Report for the period ended 31st of March 2025. Lou, seconder, Sally, all in favour? Against? Carried. Any comments in regard to the Treasury report or any concerns?
Can we take back the commitment for the town cleanup day previously? And then when we get to the town cleanup day, can we add in another one for the 18th of May?
Where is it? Where is it sitting? So that's going to be enough in there? What have we got? Town cleanup. Committed 500, we've spent 153, so we've got 346 sitting there. I can't remember what it was. But we do need to be able to spend a little bit before our next meeting because the cleanup day is scheduled for the 18th of May. Okay, all good, just check it. If there's nothing else on there, we will come back to the money side of things. Oh, I've got my button. So I've received the report for. Oh, no, but I had received the report. Yeah, I just received it. So because it's there and then we're doing questions. Because it won't change the report. This is it. But it is in my chair report about.
Yeah, it's in the.
Joe, we can do it in the chair report rather than doing it in the Treasury report, because I specifically did so that we could make those decisions and things. Yep, cool, right, let's do that then.
Speak slowly.
I will, I promise. Oh, guess what? Item 10, the chair's report. Sorry. I've got
It
to
is getting
speak slowly. But chair's report, it's not too long. So there's a couple of things here. There's a quick, just a strategic plan update. And that was really just jotting down where we're up to with our strategic plan, and that I emailed the Mayor and CEO around a meeting in regard to the conflicts of interest, which we've discussed a little bit earlier with the information that's come back from Dr. Mike Reid. And I've also had a further discussion with Councillor Montgomery. Interestingly, along those same lines that Mike came back to us with, that there is that ability to have some discussion to be able to direct us, and that councillors can provide some information to help us make decisions, but not be a part of the actual submission. We're pretty keen to maybe go a little bit further and then have a look at what it looks like on the other side as well, so that when you're sitting at the council table, where that sits. So I think there's a little bit more work to be done, and in hope that when the next representation review comes round, if necessary, if there needs to be some changes, that we're ahead of the game. But more importantly, by the time the next triennium starts, that whoever the councillors are sitting at the community boards, they have a very clear mandate of what they can and can't do. So we're not kind of rummaging around in this murky fog that we've found ourselves in. So I think we're hopefully going to come out with something quite positive, but I'm not sure if anyone else has got any other comments around that they want us to take into consideration in light of that. Possibly not. I'm also going to speak to Stephen Finlay. He's had offered a long time ago that if I had any queries, so I might just touch base with him and pick his brains as well, and just say, you know, look, we've been struggling a bit. This is what Mike said. Is there anything further you can add? So depending on what he says, I'll try and bring that back next time. Oh, yeah, certainly I can. Yes. Give me a moment. So I just need to jump back here. So Susan had kindly sent this through tonight. Joe had reached out to Mike from LGNZ, just so that you know. Mike Reid is the person that did all the documentation for how community boards should work. So he's been involved with community boards for a very long time at quite an intimate level. So he says, afternoon, Susan, councillors have been advised by staff of best practice guidance to avoid participating in decisions where they have a real or perceived conflict of interest or bias. As part of following best practice, councillors sitting on community boards have not participated in community board meetings relating to submissions to council, such as a community board submission on a council bylaw. This practice was to avoid any real or perceived conflict of interest or bias when those councillors ultimately participate in the relevant council decision. Concerns have been raised that this practice can severely limit the participation of councillors sitting on community boards at community board meetings. To ensure the right balance between councillors' participation at community board meetings and effectively managing conflict of interest issues, below is a refined guidance for councillors sitting on community boards that are making decisions on community board submissions to council. So the points are: councillors are recommended to continue to declare an interest in the item at the start of the meeting. Councillors can participate in the relevant item by answering questions, providing background information, or giving the views that were discussed around the council table previously on the matter or any wider context. Councillors are recommended not to participate in formulating any submission to council. Councillors are recommended not to vote on any submission, and this will be noted in the meeting minutes. Councillors are recommended to ensure that any comments they make during the item make clear that they will keep an open mind when it comes to the ultimate council decision. So I will forward that to you guys as well. I believe that councillors have already received it, right? Yep. So that's a really good step in the right direction, because I understand that from speaking with Joe on the Cambridge Community Board, they've sort of had some similar things, but Mike has possibly, having a legal background, has felt more comfortable to step in at different times and be able to, and has managed to say a little bit more. But he too commented that when I presented to the strategic planning and policy meeting, that it's an odd space for councillors to try and sit in without tickling that conflict of interest. Yeah, so so pretty excited about that development, I must say. So I need to dump that. Oops, I'm pulling my badge off, that's the problem. Oh, what was that? So back to where I was. The cleanup day. So are we ready, or do you want me to jump to another one first?
So we're going to come back to you. Are you doing the money from the last one, but we can do a resolution now?
Okay, so do you want me to just do these other things first while you do that resolution?
Amazing.
Yep. Okay. So we're not going to follow the order of my chair report. We're going to leave the cleanup day because our lovely ladies here are busy just drafting us up a resolution. Raising issues from the community, that was just a clarification around who was going to be doing that monitoring and evaluation report. Staff did respond to that. Just want to jump over there to see what that was because I can't remember. I did read it and then I've gone and forgotten. Oh no, they didn't respond to that one. So I'm guessing that I was right, that they will be conducting that report in regard to the follow-up of the cycleway. So I just wanted to have just a little bit of discussion around where the community board sits, keeping in mind that councillors have already approved the revocation of the reserve status on both those pieces of land. But I did just want to get a feeling of where we were as a community board and give you the opportunity to possibly go and have a look at those pieces of land and have a little bit of an understanding of their relevance to the community and just to get a bit of an idea where we, you know, like what your thoughts are about giving up green space in the community and in town. Sally.
I'd just like to ask the councillors their from their perspective of why it was approved or whatever, you know, like what was the discussion had at council and why is it, because to me it looks a bit like the cart before the horse, but hey, listen, I wasn't there, don't know, and I'd.
Okay, the reserves are both not actually accessed from they are by the road. You've got to go down an alleyway to get to them. The Arthur Patterson Reserve, okay, there was some discussion on that. But what we're doing is just revoking them at the moment. We haven't sold them or anything else. We're talking of a 2 or 3 year process. The reason of revoking a reserve actually limits what can be done with that land. It limits quite intensely actually what we can do. We don't control it. So the idea was that they looked at these, the property department, of looking at a future date of using those facilities to enhance and infill in housing over time, not in the immediate future. I can say that. So the Arthur Patterson Reserve, we are dealing directly with Alan and with Claire, okay, on that issue. And on the other one, it was not utilised very much at all, as we were told. I went and had a look. There was a couple of kids playing in one corner, but it's a big reserve, but there's not much there. That's on the Goodfellow Street.
So when did you go there? Did you go after school or did you go?
I went there, I've been there after school, yeah. I went there because I was servicing a scooter just up the road. So I actually drove the scooter around it. Oh, yeah, they're not used as much as you think. Yeah, I know.
It's just interesting, because I think green space is really, really important.
One of the key things I think with Arthur Patterson is he planted walnut trees. He went all around. He was deputy mayor here for a long time, never took a cent of his salary, and he planted walnut trees all over Te Awamutu. So, and that is one of his predominant sites. So I think that there has to be some replication somewhere if we take that away. That'll leave it at that. You got anything, Bruce?
No, it's going to take years, isn't it? It's not going to happen tomorrow. No difficult sections. So I think from council said to do anything with them in the future, if it was housing, they're difficult. It's not going to be simple. So we'll wait and see. It could be 5 years.
No, I went and had a look, and so the Goodfellow one's quite rolly. I think that'd be pretty easy, that they'd flatten it and do a little retainer wall, and that is likely to get turned into houses pretty smartly, to be honest. Once that's revoked, I imagine that will just get pushed through. The Arthur Patterson Reserve, I understand, has got pipes and there's a whole lot of complicated stormwater things through it. So that's possibly not quite so attractive for a developer to have to try and build on top of. So that's possibly not likely to be able to be, I mean, they might put it up for sale, but it possibly won't. Kane.
Sorry, yeah, just Lou, you're saying replication, are you saying that moving that so the Arthur Patterson Reserve somewhere else, or?
Well, there's got to be some recognition. There will be some
Yeah,
recognition of Arthur Patterson. But in saying that, you know, as clear, as you said just now, Ange, the thing is that it is stormwater. It is actually in a flood area in some of it as well. I had a look on the flood zone. So it actually is a partial area there that is set aside for flood zone. So you hopefully wouldn't build a house on that or anything. But yeah, it's very, is it? You walked on it, have you?
I think we do need to, like, we do want to notwithstanding what your comments were, I think we do need to have a view that we want to keep as many green spaces as possible, right? We're growing, aren't we? So we want to keep those spaces. I don't know how we do that. I'm not sure if you had any ideas, but notwithstanding what you're saying, Lou, about, all the other things,
At this point, I just wanted to bring it forward so that you were aware of it, that you had time to go and have a look at the said pieces of land. If you wanted to have a few looks to see if anyone ever does use it or not. I think, to be fair about the Goodfellow one, the gate's shut. There's nothing on it that says you're allowed in it. So it wasn't until I actually sat in this meeting that I knew it belonged to us and you are actually allowed on it. Because it currently just looks like a developer's piece of land. So in regard to the Goodfellow piece of land, of course, there's not going to be anyone using it. It doesn't look like you're allowed to. So maybe in the short term, there should be a little sign on it and the gate should be left open so that people know they are allowed to walk in there and kids are allowed to go and play there. I had a quick drive around. It's a kilometre, basically just under a kilometre down to Anchor Park. You can go up and around into Greenhill Street, Health. Anyway, and there's a bit of a park area down around in the bottom of there. But, I'm thinking that we're growing. There's a high chance that there's a number of Kainga Ora homes up in there. So there's a good chance that they will infill, go up and out. So there's going to be a lot more people. When you've got young families, it's in small sections. You go up to Auckland and you see all these houses packed in and there's no green space for these kids to play because there's no section. And for me, it was just to raise that, and it gives us time to have some discussions, to have a look at it, because I'm pretty sure it was outlined in the information. The process now is that this will go out to the public, so we will have an opportunity when the time for that, it will come back to us to make further comments, but it was really giving us the opportunity to have a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of a discussion of, what do we think about this early, and so we've got a bit of time to ask some questions. So thanks for that, guys, I appreciate it. Right, so we can go back to our discussion quickly about so I don't miss it out. Where we're about for the cleanup day. So we're definitely set for Sunday the 18th. What else do we need to arrange tonight?
So we're organised, Roger from Eco Maintenance to come along. He's going to run around with his truck, which will be good. So 8:30 at TA Sports for us. Public will be there at 9 till about 11:30, and then we'll have sandwiches or something till 12ish. Wrap up at about 12, no later than 12:30. So really just need to try and get the word out. So Ange, are you able to do a poster? Yep. So then get that done and then just contact as many people as possible to try and get a few more people. I'll be at TA Sports directing where do people go, and we'll just get as many people as possible and do as much as we can. So that's basically the plan.
Just quickly, Kane, have you booked the sports club? Have you got the sports club organised? Good man. I was just making sure it's not really nice to have a cup of tea and have toilets, facilities, etc. you can go to. Thank you.
I've booked that in, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Talk to Linda. She'll be fine.
Can that go on the what's on in the council, Waipawa Council website?
I'll get in touch with Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
If you can contact the iSite, it could go in there, what's on as well. It just, as long as you let them know before the end of April, because then that normally comes out the first week of May. Yep. And they could put it up in their window and stuff like that. Yep. Right. So we just need to sort out some money so we can have a little bit of money to spend on the day, just in case we need to. we're pretty frugal, so hopefully we won't need to do that. I haven't finished. Do you want me not to finish my report before we do the money? Okay, I'll receive my report. I hadn't received my report because I'd gone about it just gone the opposite to the way I'd done everything else. Okay, let's just receive my report. So that the Te Awamutu and Kiki Community Board receives a report of Angela Holt, Chairperson, Te Awamutu and Kiki Community Board, titled Chairperson's Report, April 2025, and that we receive the staff responses to that report. Can I have someone to move that? Kane, second.
Yeah.
John, all in favour? Against? Carried. Righto, so my report's been done. Joe's going to pop this up. So
I just mention one thing. Just with the bridges and new panels, you forgot the RSA because we organised that.
what did I do?
You only had Bonnie and her team. The RSA actually set the program and actually did a lot of the background work.
Oh, I
Quite a
kind
lot
of
of it.
meant that, like she did I was thanking her for the hands-on part, typing up the run sheet and that. I wasn't specific, sorry.
Yeah, well, we wrote the program and had all the people and organised the
Yeah, but you absolutely did organise everything. So, yeah, okay. So just to note that addition that, so I will thank you. No, but I would like to because yes, I don't like missing people out, and yes, I do know that. So thank you to all of the members of the RSA, and also to those people that were present who spoke and came along on the day. It went really well, and the speeches and stuff were really good. It was a really enjoyable early morning. So it was good.
Pretty emotional.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. So, right, okay. So in regard to the town cleanup day, we just need to make a little bit of a resolution so that we can access the funds that we used last time. That are left over from last time. So we need to move that the Te Awamutu and Kiki community.
Can everyone just have a read of that and make sure I've kind of captured everything?
Oh, okay,
that
yep,
you
sure.
Might want to have included. I've got 500 if that's what you'd like, and then I've itemised some of the costs and then just did a bit of a catch-all at the end and said any other additional costs for running the town cleanup day in case something unexpected. There's nothing else that jumps out for you?
We didn't want to include us, no, because we got that. This is our last one, eh? Not fitting in another one before. No, yeah, that's right. So we're all good. Yep, we're happy with that. Okay, so can I have someone to move that? Is that all right? Kane? John, second it. All in favour? Against? Carried. Oh, poke myself in the eye with my glasses. Yow. Right, so that's that done. You'll notice I have highlighted the closure of the Te Awamutu transfer station. So the story behind that is the lease has not been renewed. Staff have responded. So it's probably better that I speak to what they've said. So staff have been in touch with the private transfer station operator. There is a possibility of closure later this year. I've been told probably August. Staff will be looking at what options exist if the closure does occur and provide public information to assist residents with responsible waste disposal. We expect to provide more information on this going forward. I just think as a community board that we've heavily vested in the waste minimisation and looking after our space, that, we could keep our ear to the ground and maybe ask a few questions as well. I'm not sure who owns Murray Baines' old red bin site since it got burnt down, whether we can, someone's got a bit of time to maybe find out who owns that, maybe ask a few questions, maybe just to ask a few businesses or people that we know that may have a space or are prepared to do a lease with, waste management. I have got the right one, waste management.
So what's happening with this place?
So the lease has not been renewed, so they're going to have to find somewhere else because potentially it's going to be a huge problem. I mean, we already have a problem with people dumping rubbish.
No, hang on, so they might be finding a place for refuse station, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right, so it may not be a problem yet.
No, but there's not a lot of time if it's run out in August. So I'm just suggesting that maybe it could be something that we could help support staff through our own contacts and just do some unofficial queries. If you come up with something, let Brian know ASAP that, you know, you've got wind of something that may or be worth investigating, and give them the lead to do some more work around that, because certainly for me, it's quite a big concern. And I don't know if anyone ever goes to Hamilton via O'Regan Road, but you want to see the couches, the beds, the really big household rubbish that ends up along there. And I'd imagine that Patarangi Road and Ohopō Road would possibly look like that if we can't come up with a solution, because I can't imagine people here are going to be keen on driving all the way to Hamilton to dump their rubbish. Well, it probably is closer, but that's still 20-25 minutes down the road, isn't it? So even going that way. Yeah.
Most of Oregon Road comes out of Hamilton, so it's not, it's a cost to us, which is, I think, isn't it, Lou might be right, 40,000 or something, a lot of money a year to tidy up.
Yeah, it's horrific, sometimes. Yeah, so, and unfortunately, we've got a lot of people that aren't in the position to pay dump fees. So some of them probably are just plain lazy and don't want to pay their dump fees, but, you know, it has got very expensive. And having to send it to, you know, Hamilton, I hope we can come up with a solution before we get there.
Why was the lease not renewed?
I don't. Oh, you need to use your mic, Sally. Sorry.
Why was the lease not renewed? Was there any?
I don't know. It's a private business that owns the property. So sorry, I don't know the details of that to share. Right. I just want to double check what else we had in regard to the, so Goodfellow was around, we've covered that, the closure. Oh, the drone inquiry. So that's really great. So thank you very much to staff for responding. And I'll follow that up with the Kakapuku team because they're really keen to get a drone, as you would have read in my report, so they can identify those wattles, because the wattles go very yellow when they're flowering and it makes them much easier to spot. So that will be a really big help to them. And I've actually got a couple of contacts of some people that quite like flying drones. So hopefully we can get someone free to whiz their drone around up there and get that sorted. So I think that covers everything from out of my report and the staff responses to that. So yeah, again, thank you very much. I believe, one last thing. I believe that the wattle team had another go at pulling out wattles actually on Sunday, just been. So hopefully they had a good day up there and managed to get a few more out from there. Right. So we've done the resolution for that. We've done my report. Was on. So item number 11, board members' reports on page, so this is page 179 from meetings that people have attended. So are there any updates from around the table of things you've done? John?
I came and listened to Warwick Lamp about election protocol and stuff like that. It was interesting, but hey, I think we've been before, but there are things you need to just still be aware of. I did help with unveiling the panels, working with Bonnie to get the breakfast morning tea organised with her and that. And as I said earlier, I'm responsible for the poppies outside the gold pine and the crosses.
And you've been given a job to take the faded signs off the sign for me. So John's officially got a job. Yep, yeah, I'll do that. Yep, no, absolutely. Sally or Kane, you guys, all good?
I actually had an accidental committee meeting about the Te Awamutu sign coming into, saw Ange and Jill there, so I pulled over and caught up with them. Probably doesn't need to be noted, but what I did want to discuss is just looking at the signs and things around the town. They probably need a bit of a clean, and I don't know whether I've actually spoken to Brad about this before. Just a bucket of hot water and a brush, and you just clean the stuff off. He wasn't very enthusiastic about it then, but I think it would help make the town look better. So I don't know whether that we can raise that some way next time or something, just notice that just being around the town in bits and pieces. And also our gardens in the triangle and things coming into the main roundabout. It's just a shambles, eh? It's just not very nice. So might get some photos comparing a few places around the district just to sort of show the difference. Just those are a couple of things I've been noticing here, but other than that, pretty quiet months, I'm afraid, yeah.
Bruce?
Kane, I totally agree with your signs, but I heard someone say once, okay, the bucket of water's all right, but if you get a water blast and a feed off a truck or ute that's got water to it, and there's someone that knows what they're doing, it doesn't take very long to tidy these up, but you still got to go through the right people. You just can't go and do it, or you can go and do it, but don't tell anyone.
If that's the one.
Yeah. Brian was really helpful. So like with the Hope sign, we're just coming in under the traffic management that is already in place as part of maintenance. So that works quite well. So yeah, maybe we can find someone that's got a truck with a water blaster, and or we can get a water blaster. I don't know if we can find someone that is happy to do it. Well, that's what I was kind of angling at as part of our cleanup day, that we whip round and, or not on that day, but as part of that we just give those. I presume you mean the ones with all of the service things on coming in.
Those sort of signs, just.
Yeah.
As an example, but there's other signs, extra signs around.
Yeah, so actual signs in general. So, okay, that might be a bit of a bigger job then.
But I don't know who does it or whatever. It doesn't matter. Move on.
Okay, we might follow that one up. I'll just make a note.
Probably wants to be a soft wash rather than a water blast on wood, etc. It'll take it all apart.
Yeah,
Just want a soft wash. Yeah, I've got like my water blast has a soft wash with soap coming out at the same time. You wouldn't want to put high pressure on it.
I'll mention that.
Can I borrow it?
I've just been doing the walls on the house.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to speak to the SPMP meeting. So as you know, I presented our report. I did just want to make mention that I was short of time going into that. However, what I put in the report that was placed in the agenda was directly from the discussion we had at the RSA together, and the feedback that I had requested in the email asking, what positive things have you guys got to put into that report. So it was made up from information that the board had provided. In regard to the comments I made on the day, I just wanted to highlight that leading into that meeting, I wasn't planning on going at all. So that night I decided, no, I probably need to speak to it. And I wanted to highlight the conflict of interest because I personally was very passionate about that. And we had all had the discussions on a number of occasions around where we felt that wasn't working so well, including councillors. We've all talked about that. So I thought that was a good one to speak to. And the comments I made in regard to the community board not feeling heard, I based that on my discussions with each of you over the past 6 months with the things that you've been working on, and just the sentiment that I felt was being reflected. So as I say, I'm sorry I hadn't sent out an actual written document of what I was going to say the night before, but I hope what I did say was reflective. However, I also would like to reiterate that if ever I put anything in a report that you feel I went too far, or that it should have been said differently, please feel free to come and speak to me, because, you know, I want to be 100% approachable, and this is about all of us, not just me or just any but one person on our board. It's a collective effort, and I just wanted to reinforce that and make that clear. Lou?
I just want to do a quick report for my own stuff, if
Yes,
that's all right.
you
Just
may.
quickly, urban miners have actually changed completely in direction now. And they are now going to become a trust. So we're going to become a charitable trust and operate separately to what we've done to date. The idea being is that we can then employ staff, okay, and have a logical operation. So we will rely on people and assistants and volunteers at the cutting level and the operational level, but we will have staff and economies of scale. So to further that a little bit, I did some investigation and got out with the local people. So I've been down to Pack and Save, to Jeremy Bennett, and has organised an income stream along with the council, so that the batteries will now be paid by Jeremy, and they're going to remain at Pack and Save. And we will not need now to utilise our discretionary fund. Okay, so that was the whole answer, because I felt that we were using a discretionary fund for an operational issue rather than a capital issue. And that's not right. It should always go into capital or setting something up. We shouldn't be operating something. So they're supplying $1,000 on a bi-monthly or 3-monthly basis, okay, which comes to $4,000. And we've had a grant of just on $12,000 from the council as well. So we can now operate the battery operation completely outside. They will also take over from June this year, the collection. So they will actually empty the containers themselves and store them at the back of the back of Pack and Save in the back area, in a container that they've actually delegated to me. And I'll just go and collect them once a month to get them recycled coming back. So it'll take the onerous job of going down there all the time, emptying the batteries out. So it'll make it a lot easier.
There's some way to get you out of the loop there too, Lou. So is there some way to get you out of the loop there? So they
well, I
actually
will
do
be in the
driving
loop
down?
doing the collections and things, but not to the stage of being there twice a week sometimes picking up batteries. So that'll go. That's all that means. And the other thing I just mentioned from today's meeting, we had the Waikato City and Regional deal, a proposal which is a economic thing set up by government. And this is actually looking at enhancing roading and infrastructure in our areas and improving, the whole of our infrastructure, freight and everything and moving around. So we didn't totally adopt it, did we? I think a light touch was the word I should use on that, wouldn't it? Bruce can probably talk to it as much as I.
It's in the process they're developing too, because we live in a good place, and it's how to make it better. So, getting in government space.
Okay, that was me.
Thanks, Lou, appreciate that. So if we haven't got anything further on, I don't think, just very quickly, Anzac Day. So laying a wreath, was there anyone else that wanted to come along? John's going to be there in charge of the wreaths. I'm going to go along. But did anyone else want to? And okay, so, but if you do decide just to come in, please feel free to come find me, and I'm happy to have us a little collective.
We have services this year at Parongia, and Parongia it's a dawn service, Te Awamutu dawn service. Then we go to the next one will be at the cemetery, Kiki, Hapo and Te Awamutu. So they're all being organised at the moment.
Nice. Righto, and so that was item 11. Item 12, that the next Te Awamutu and Kiki Community Board meeting will be held at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 28th of May. So we've got a little bit of a longer gap because of Easter. So I hope everybody has a lovely and safe Easter. Don't eat too many Easter eggs. And before we close our meeting officially, we have a karakia whakamutanga. So, kua mutu a mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, mana kitia mai mātou katoa, o mātou hoa, o mātou whānau, ai o ki te aorangi. Our work is finished for the time being. Protect us all, our friends, our family, and peace to the universe. We will close at